Hey, this is Gretchen Menn with JamPlay, and in this next series of videos, we're going to be talking about sweep picking. I have to admit, I was a little bit late to the party with sweep picking, mostly because I hadn't heard it used in ways that were inspiring to me. And I would recommend that anytime you learn a technique, and this is from firsthand experience, one, keep your mind open, because the way that you may have heard people use it previously isn't the only way to use it, right? So learning how to sweep pick isn't going to immediately mean that you have to use sweep picking all the time in really obvious ways. Sweep picking is not just something that people do at ripping tempos for it really high gain. I mean, jazz players will sweep pick. You just don't notice it because it doesn't sound as obvious. In learning a new technique then, I would say learn it, keep your mind open, but also be honest with yourself about how much you want to use it. Because you may find, okay, this is a good thing for me to learn, but I don't need this now to become like a staple of my musical vocabulary. So balance your practice time and your goals with whatever feels in line with the technique and its service to you as an artist. So with that in mind, I would say, let's get started with the technique of sweep picking. I think of it as sort of the complement to alternate picking, because if it's the yin and the yang, you've got alternate picking, alternating every single pick stroke, and sweep picking is continuing in the same direction with your pick until you must change directions. So that poses a unique sound and gives you unique options for lines that become much more playable with the technique. Whether or not you're interested in learning this because you expect to use it a lot, that's up to you. So let's learn the technique, and then you determine how much you want to use it in your vocabulary. That's how I've approached it. So I do use it now more than I thought I would, but it doesn't mean that it's now going to be a staple of my daily guitar vocabulary. Let me start off by saying that there were 3 artists who made me decide to reconsider my kind of negative attitude about sweep picking. And they are Jason Becker, Daniele Gottardo, and Yngwie Malmsteen. All of them use sweep picking in a way that's very tasteful, that's very melodic, that's very beautiful, and that doesn't necessarily feel gratuitous. It feels sometimes very exciting. They can execute incredibly ripping lines with it, but it doesn't really feel like a device for them. It feels like it's just part of their vocabulary. So that's when I decided, okay, I'll reconsider and I'll sit down and I'll take some time to actually learn how to do it a little bit. So let's go through some exercises that'll get you started with it. So we're going to start in the 7th position with a 3-string sweep, and it's going to be outlining an E minor 7. So the notes that we're going to be playing is E on the G string, G on the B string, B on the E string, and then a D on the E string. So the way that's going to look very slowly is we're going to pick down, and I actually let my pick rest on the next adjacent string, so my pick is actually sitting on the B string right now, and then on the B string with the G, resting on the E string. And then here's where we change our pick direction with the pull off, upstroke. And then here, you could either, this is where you have a choice to either pick up on the E, but then you'll be hitting the G after that with a down pick. So the real sweep is happening across 3 strings, and then on the way back down, not quite a real sweep, but we'll get to that in a moment. So really slowly, down, 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 up, pull off, up, down, 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 up, pull off, up, down. So we'll go through that at different tempos together. Okay, so now that you get that 3-string sweep down, say that quickly, we're going to go to a 4-string sweep. And what we're actually going to do, I'm blending in a little bit of theory and harmony here, is we're going to keep those same notes that we did for the E minor 7, and we're going to add another note, which is actually going to change the harmony. So if this is E minor 7, we're going to add 1 note on the D string, which is a C, but now it changes the harmony to a C major 9. You have C, E is the 3rd, G is the 5th, B is the 7th, D is the 9. So you see you can kind of change harmonies just by adding a note. So the same principle will apply here. We're going to be picking down, 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 up, pull off, up, up. And here you can also choose if you want to do a down pick and then start the sweep again, or do an up pick. Either way is actually perfectly fine. If you do an up pick, then you have an even number of notes that you're sweeping, 3 in either direction. So very slowly. Okay, so now we're going to do another 4-string sweep, but we're going to add a hammer-on to it on the lowest string. And we're also then going to be changing the harmony once again. So now we're going to be an A minor 11 because we're adding another third. Basically, we're continuously adding thirds below. Now this will be A, hammer-on to C, and then continue the same way as previously. Here you don't have the dilemma of whether to use an upstroke or a downstroke because you'll be hitting the C with an upstroke and then starting again with a downstroke on the A, hammer on. Very slowly, you're going to do downstroke, hammer on, down, 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 up, pull off, up, 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 and then the pattern starts again. Okay, so the very last one, we're adding another third below, and now we're going to be outlining an F major 13 with a sharp 11. So basically all the notes that we've been playing previously, and we're just adding an F below. So the way that's going to work, sometimes when people are just starting a sweep, they'll start it with a downstroke regardless, but up, down, hammer on, down, 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 up, pull off, up, 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 pull off, up. So I've got a metronome set to 120 beats per minute, and what we can do is rather than constantly resetting the metronome, we can just change subdivisions of the beats. So first we're going to do quarter notes at 120 beats per minute. Next, we're going to do eighth notes at 120 beats per minute, so 2 notes per click. Okay, now we're going to do triplets at 120 beats per minute. So now, once you start getting more and more comfortable at that tempo with different subdivisions of the beat, then you can start cranking up the tempo if you want. You could definitely do 16th notes or sextuplets as you like, but then you start getting into having to think a lot more about where the accented notes are. So if you're just getting started, go ahead and just start moving your metronome up. So I've moved the click up to 150 beats per minute. We're going to try triplets here. But if this is new to you, go ahead and work your way up to this tempo gradually. So a way to practice this, depending on whether or not this is new to you, is I would say if this is the first time you've really attacked this technique, pick a subdivision of the beat, whether it's maybe eighth notes or quarter notes even, and work your way up very slowly at that. Once you've gotten a little bit more comfortable with it is when you can start going to smaller subdivisions of the beat and seeing where that leads you. So now we're going to do the 4-string sweep, and we're going to start it at 100 beats per minute doing quarter notes. Okay, now we're going to do eighth notes at that same tempo. So if this is not new to you, go ahead and try that with triplets, but I'm actually going to move right on to 16th notes because it ends up dividing evenly into the pattern. So we'll move it up just a little bit to 120 beats per minute. But the idea is not in any of these exercises to get going as blazingly fast as you can, but really to work on forming a really strong, concrete foundation of the technique, and then slowly work your way up to playing it fast. A lot of sweep picking can be easy to gloss over notes. So really focus on articulation and clarity of notes before you start trying to push the speed up a lot. Okay, so now we're going to do the 4-string sweep with the hammer-on, and we're going to do first quarter notes at 100 beats per minute. So now we're going to do the same thing with eighth notes, still 100 beats per minute. Okay, so now because we have two groups of 5 notes, ascending and descending, we're going to try doing quintuplets. As I said earlier, if you want to try these as triplets or 16th notes, have at it, go for it, but just be mindful of the fact that it will mean that your downbeat will be falling in different places for a few cycles until you line it back up because of the different subdivision of the beat. Okay, now we're going to go to our 5-string sweep. And don't worry, a 6-string sweep will be coming up, but that will be in the next lesson, and I'm going to be showing it to you in context. So let's do the same thing with the 5-string sweep that we've been doing with the others. We're going to start with quarter notes, then move to eighth notes, and then we'll move to sextuplets, which are the even subdivision of the beat so that you'll have the same pattern that repeats ascending and descending. So this will be quarter notes at 100 beats per minute. We'll do the same thing now in eighth notes, 100 beats per minute. So rather than go from playing quarter notes and eighth notes at 100 beats per minute to trying to play sextuplets that fast, that's such a huge jump. We're going to do triplets, but you can work your way up, like I said, with different subdivisions of the beat or with different metronome marks as is comfortable for you. So this will be triplets at 100 beats per minute. Okay, so thanks for checking those out. I recommend you go really, really slowly because this is a technique that is relatively easy to get burning fast. It's really easy, all too easy, to get impatient and to try to get there really soon, and it's often at the expense of articulation and clarity. So go slowly, keep it under control, and maybe come up with some arpeggios that are useful to you. You don't have to use the ones that I provided as examples. So good luck with it, and I'll see you back in the next lesson.